Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Launch Over podcast on the Without Your Head network. I'm Sophia Cacciola.
I am Michael J. Epstein, and we are coming to you from a couch in Hollywood where once our special guest slept for a number of days. And we are here with Neal Jones of Without Your Head, who has allowed us graciously to be part of the Without Your Head network. The only reason you're hearing the show is because of Neal.
Blame him for everything.
It's his fault.
Right, I was just saying, yeah, thanked or blamed, depending on your point of view.
But thanks for being our first guest.
Yeah, we thought...
Well, thank you for asking me, and the pleasure is all ours Without Your Head having you guys part of the network.
So why don't you tell everybody what the Without Your Head network is all about?
Basically, it's a home for people that are cool, and for all these podcasts. You can go and listen to all these podcasts that are kind of horror-related, movie-related, independent film-related, really. And so right now it's Without Your Head, which has been around for a long time, and Launch Over. And there's a couple more coming. I don't want to announce them yet because they're involved, but they haven't announced it yet. But it's a home for a lot of cool stuff.
Stay tuned and you'll hear about the other podcasts coming up. If you hear licking in the background, that's not Neal this time. That is our dog, King Ghidorah, who likes to be part of the podcast here.
Yeah.
He has a lot of opinions on things that mostly he expresses through licking. So,
Well, he's grumpy because he got a bath today. So.
Yeah, he's angry about being clean.
Yes.
He does look a little angry.
Yeah. Well, what happens with him is he after he gets washed, he immediately licks his paws and rolls around on the carpet to restore his smell. Because he's like, wait a second, I don't smell like a dog anymore. I better do everything I can in order to restore that smell to be stinky again, so that the neighborhood dogs will be afraid of me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's what King Ghidorah is all about.
Yeah, that's what I do after I take a shower.
Exactly.
You roll around in your dirty clothes.
I do.
So what we like to do on this podcast is talk a little bit about what we've been watching in the past week or so. And I think we've got a rundown of a bunch of stuff, and then we'll maybe ask you what you've been watching as well.
All right, sounds good.
First of all, we've been watching a lot of trash movies.
This week was rough.
It was true trash. The pandemic has led us to the point where our brains have become very mushy, and so we look for like really, really garbage franchises. Last week, we were watching the Mission Impossible movies. This week we've been watching the Fast and Furious movies.
That's one I've not seen any Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
movies.
we're now 5 deep into Fast.
We can
and
mail
Furious.
you the box set once we're done.
They're interesting. I mean, I don't know if I would. It's hard to recommend them, but they're interesting movies because the first couple, it's like they're really serious and they're about street racing, and then by the 5th one, it's actually just Ocean's 11.
Yeah, the 5th one was the best.
Literally just an Ocean's 11 movie.
That's as far as we've gotten. So we have like 4 more or something.
Yeah.
All my knowledge is from the trailer, and I know like the first one was about like street racing, and then the last trailer they were like fighting like a submarine coming out of the ice.
That sounds about right. I mean, I don't even know.
I don't understand these movies.
Yeah,
we haven't gotten to that yet. But
I think it's turned into like the criminals.
Sorry for the spoiler.
The criminals are fighting like worse criminals. Like that's like what it's about. Like they're all on the wrong side of the law, but there's worse people.
Yeah, it's a lot of Vin Diesel and The Rock punching each other in the last one. So it's a lot of guys with shaved heads.
I think the only blonde in the Fast and Furious universe is Paul Walker. Like all of the women look exactly the same, and they all have like long brunette hair, and it's just like really interesting casting choices.
So anyway, we'll report back next time about how Fast and Furious 6 through 8 and the Hobbs and Shaw.
Are there 8?
I believe there are 8. And
they're shooting 9 and 10 simultaneously, I think.
There are 8, and there are a couple of movies that are kind of spin-off movies. So it's even more severe than that. We watched some of the shorts that are like the extras that come.
Garbage.
Oh, shorts
we're being completists.
Garbage.
The
shorts were garbage. They were just badly made, terrible, pointless.
Don't be mean to Vin Diesel directed one of them. So
I really just didn't like the first 3 movies.
But anyway,
Tokyo Drift was like interesting because it like, had nothing to do with any of the characters, but it was in Tokyo, so I was enjoying the scenery.
Well, we didn't really read about the movies first, and so we started Tokyo Drift, and it starts with this new character that you've never seen before. And I'm like, oh, this must lead into like Paul Walker showing up, and of course it doesn't. It's a completely different story.
3.
People have described it as the season of the witch of the Fast and Furious franchise. Yeah. but the characters do come back in the subsequent episodes.
I always like Vin Diesel just because he was on Conan once and he talked about being a big D&D player as like a
he doesn't miss a
teenager.
game,
So I was
right?
like, oh, he's got to be pretty cool then.
We heard rumors that he like takes days off from shooting. He like has to have Wednesday off to fly home
And
play D&D. I don't know
with
if
the
it's
people
true or
he's
not.
played with since high school, supposedly.
I think Riddick is like based off like a character he played in some RPG.
I buy that. Yeah. It's like a Shadowrun character or something, probably. Yeah. But anyway, Fast and Furious. We got through those.
Garbage.
Speaking of movies that are ripoffs of Ocean's 11, we also watched Logan Lucky. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, I've not seen that.
I liked
it. Sounds
it.
familiar.
I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I would. It's a Steven Soderbergh movie that his wife wrote actually under a pseudonym. But it's just another heist movie. It's like a hillbilly heist movie.
It's Hillbilly Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
It's set in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And it's
really?
it's like
I know someone from West Virginia.
Oh.
There's a lot of bears I heard in West Virginia, so
There are. Be careful in the highway.
Yeah. Sorry, inside jokes. But anyway, it's a West Virginia heist movie. It's kind of like put together the Ocean's team, but instead of like cool, suave Vegas guys, they're all like West Virginia, like hick dudes. One of them played by Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
Which is
Who's like, he loves doing
I
Southern
remember
accents.
seeing the trailer. Now. Yeah,
it's-
you actually sold me on this movie.
It's
That's
fun.
not-
Yeah,
I
it's
liked it. I was charmed by it, I guess, because I didn't really expect to like it as much as I did, and I did like it.
It's probably only like 40 minutes too long, you know. It's as opposed to the Fast and Furious movies, which are about an hour and a half too long.
The first Fast and Furious movie is Point Break, just bad. It's like a remake of Point Break.
They're very bro-y / homoerotic, I would say, too. Like,
And the women are just prizes. It's bad. I think maybe they're getting better, though. So, next week when we get through the rest of the series,
we'll
have
report
more
back.
to say.
We also watched Host, which has been getting a ton
my
of
God.
buzz.
You watched that last night,
You
right?
watched? Did you make it through?
I watched
Host?
it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been getting a ton of buzz. Neither of us, and I think maybe I don't want to speak for Neal as well, but I think maybe all three of us are not huge found footage fans.
No, I'm not.
And so, it was like people were saying it was really innovative and exciting, and I think Sophia and I just found it to be kind of standard found footage movie without really much of a story or anything. So
Yeah, it's literally a Zoom movie. People, joke about making a Zoom movie, but this is like it actually takes place on Zoom.
yeah.
And about the first 10 minutes, I really wanted to turn it off, but I kept watching it because I knew you guys wanted to talk about it. And I will say, I thought it got better. Like I think there's cool jump scares in it. That's not really like why I watch a movie, but I did not care at all about anyone in the movie.
No, yeah.
Which it makes it very uninteresting to
Right.
me.
I appreciated the Zoom gimmick. I mean, it was shot as if it were in Zoom, but it wasn't like actually alive, because
Right.
I was excited to watch it, thinking like they really innovated and shot it like within a 1 hour period on Zoom and really did all the stuff live, but it clearly wasn't that. But they do use a lot of fun Zoom gimmicks, like how backgrounds work in Zoom and like little
Right.
things that I thought were cool.
There's even a couple times like where the audio was slightly off. I thought
Right.
It
Yeah.
wasn't synced up just to make it look legit, I guess.
Yeah. So they were
The
fun.
only thing it inspired me to do is to do a background video where I'm just walking around in the background so I can play that while I talk to people on Zoom.
Yeah, to scare people. I've been meaning to do that for a while anyway, but anyway, yeah.
I agree I think it's definitely overhyped, but I probably liked it better than I thought I would, but I still didn't like it.
All right.
If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. But I think, for
'Cause
people
these aren't my kind of movies.
Right. For people who are really into found footage and don't care that there are no characters or plot, it's a great
even,
movie, it's solid.
Even the demon was like
Right.
a false demon or whatever. Like, it just didn't even have it wasn't
don't
like
spoil
their
it all.
grandpa haunting them. It just, none of the characters mattered. The demon didn't matter. Like,
Yeah,
nothing
that's my
matters.
biggest problem. Is I couldn't care about anybody.
Yeah.
So I was kind of wanting them to all die.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you just like stuff jumping out and going boo, I guess
Yeah.
you might dig it.
And a lot of people do dig it, so I think
It's
check
only
it
an
out
hour.
if you're into that kind of stuff. I think it's a hit right now. Not our thing.
Sophia said it's an hour. I do think that's a plus. It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Oh my
short.
God, can you imagine if it were 20 minutes longer?
Yeah. I also was watching. I was picking up some of the last movies in my Jean Rollin movie watching, which I've seen almost all of them, but I had not seen the Demoniacs, which I caught, which I'm guessing Sophia didn't watch, and I'm guessing, Neal, you may not have seen that as well.
I've not seen it. I'm not actually not even heard of that one. But
all right,
I love
it's
name.
from it must be 70s. I actually don't even know. It must be 70s, but it's about these guys who cause shipwrecks and then like loot the shipwrecks, and these two shipwreck survivor young girls wash up ashore, and they assault them and kill them. And then the spirits of the girls come back and meet the devil, who has Rasputin and a clown as helpers. And then they come back and get revenge. It's a standard, typical story. I think it was in 1974 or so, because what I bet was that somebody went to Jean Rollin and was like, so that Last House on the Left movie, that's a big hit. Can you make that movie? And he's like, sure, I will make it in my own form. And for anybody who's not familiar with Rollin, it's very surreal, dreamlike, kind of nonsensical, definitely not narrative focused. Often twin women or two young women who are either actually twins or surrogates of twins doing strange things. A lot of long shots of people walking through castles and stuff.
A lot of clowns.
Clowns show up a lot. So anyway, I thought the movie was pretty cool. It was one of the ones that I hadn't seen. I don't know if it was one of the best Rollin movies, but it definitely was worth the watch if you're into unnecessary extended sexual assault scenes, which I'm not. But if you ignore those, the rest of the movie I think is pretty solid. I don't know why. I think that was the era, that like 70, 72 to 75, where everybody was like, we'll just do unnecessary like assault scenes because I don't like Last House on the Left was a hit. Yeah, I don't really get it. But anyway, so Demoniacs. I also watched New Barbarians, the Enzo Castellari movie that's part of a trilogy of films that apparently were all filmed within 6 months that include Bronx Warriors, Escape from the Bronx, and New Barbarians. And New Barbarians is the movie I watched. Mad Max was popular. The Warriors was popular. They were like, Enzo, we've got money for you to go shoot 3 movies simultaneously. Hop to it. And I don't know, have you seen any of these?
No, I kind of remember, weren't they on the poster at the Alamo Drafthouse?
Was the New Barbarians or?
Yeah, or there were some of those, because I remember you were saying like they were like the rip-off versions of these, because they weren't the actual movies we were thinking they looked like.
Right. Yeah, whenever you see like a list of best Mad Max rip-offs or something, these 3 movies are always showing up.
The best Mad Max ripoff is Hell Comes to Frogtown.
That is also
I agree with
good.
That.
That is a good Mad Max
I
ripoff.
stand by Roddy Piper as the best wrestler turned actor.
I mean, They Live Alone is really enough to establish that, isn't it?
I agree.
I mean,
I know The Rock's done well, but as far as just an actor, I say Piper's.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Fast and Furious movies so far, we haven't seen all the Rock ones, but they do not come anywhere near Frogtown or They Live.
The thing with Hell Comes to Frogtown is it's exactly the plot of Fury Road, just like made in the 80s. It's fascinating. Like they go and rescue the women, and like
There was an article.
Interesting.
Somebody wrote an article that was like Mad Max Fury Road is a ripoff of Hell Comes to Frogtown, and like kind of I mean maybe they even said in the article that they didn't think that was actually like a real thing.
It's just random, but it is weird.
It is shockingly similar. So for anybody who likes Fury Road, Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Neal approves, I think, of that one.
I definitely approve. And if it helps get the word out about the movie, I'm all for it.
That showed up
I
on
even have a
Shudder.
Roddy Piper VHS right here.
Very
Nice,
nice. Yeah.
yeah.
We're all for Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
R.I.P. So the last movie that I think we had on the list to talk about was a documentary on Shudder called In Search of Darkness, and it is a like 4-hour and 15-minute traipse through the 1980s, where they go year by year and kind of look at movies that came out each year, and do what I would call a very cursory kind of recap look at them.
I think it's a really good doc if you don't know much about 80s horror and you want to get into it and you just want like a list of movies to check out. It's great. If you already have seen all these movies, there's not a whole lot there for you. And so there were a couple spots where, people said some interesting things, but a lot of it was just like people being like, I like this movie, and like not really having much else to say about it. And so it was 4 hours long to be that cursory. like was odd.
It was kind of a good intro. I would say it was a good intro to horror for somebody who's like, I want to learn about horror. You know, maybe you have a class on horror and that's what you show the first day, or a class on 80s horror.
Like just an intro to 80s horror.
Intro to 80s horror. Then you're like, okay, I've seen the landscape of films.
You wouldn't think that would need to be 4 hours, though.
Well, it does not necessarily feel like it should have been, but, you know, but it's cool. I mean, I appreciated it. I enjoyed watching it. Somehow I kept being like, this is a little too basic, but then there'd be like a nugget of something that I thought was interesting enough to keep going.
And they had some cool people like Mick Garris and Joe Dante and Barbara Crampton and Kelly Maroney. Like they had like people that were there and made some of the things. But then
it's hard not to like something if all those people are
exactly,
there
and they all definitely have interesting things to say. But also had like YouTubers who were like, this movie's cool. So it was a weird mix of people, I thought.
And some of the movies probably were obscure for people who are not, you know, I see you have, people won't be able to see this, but you have a Motel Hell image right behind you currently. So I think they mentioned, I don't know if they do a whole full section on Motel Hell, but they mention it. And so for people like us, we're like, oh yeah, you know, Motel Hell, that's a standard, that's a standard classic. Yeah. But you know, a lot of people may not have seen that. That may be one that's less seen by people. So, so you know.
By the way, that was a birthday gift from Annabelle Lecter several years ago.
Very cool. Well, shout out to Annabelle for that cool Motel Hell image there. Yeah,
it was pretty sweet.
So I think that's everything we've been watching pretty much. I know you've been doing something special.
I've been starting to watch some stuff for Fantasia Fest, which is coming up next week. And Tristan and I will be doing some interviews and covering a lot of the movies. And so I saw The Clapboard Jungle by Justin McConnell, which is a documentary. You guys were saying like about the 80s one, like if you don't know about the 80s movies, it would be interesting. I think this is a documentary that you have to really be either a filmmaker or really know about filmmaking to appreciate. Because I don't know, which was fine by me, but I don't know if you don't know about that world, how interesting it might be for you. That's like probably the only negative about it. But it's really more about not the technical making of a movie, but everything about making a movie. Like getting it sold, getting people to give money to it. It really reminded me of when I talked to Michael, and he always says, making independent film is a terrible idea. And it's kind of like taking that and expanding it for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well,
I'm interested.
I've been excited about it. I've seen Justin posting like trailers and stuff on Facebook for quite some time now, and it's looked like a movie that I'm very, very interested in seeing. But we are indeed the very specific target audience for that. So and
lots of people I know and you guys know are in it. So if you're like in the convention world, you'll know most of the people in the documentary.
Right, and it's got a lot of film festival stuff in it. Like a lot of it takes place at Fantasia.
It was. Some of it was at Fantasia, After Dark, I think. A lot of different festivals. It would have taken a long time to make this because it's. He's talking to everybody. And some people only have a little, you only talk to for a little bit, which is good, though, because it's like, hey, that's cool. Gregory Lamberson pops up for a little bit.
All right.
And, but no one overstays their welcome.
Gregory Lamberson is a friend of ours who runs the Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival and also made a whole bunch of movies, including Slime City, which is not covered in the In Search of Darkness documentary, but what they do in that doc is that they scan across a series of posters from a year and then kind of like zoom in on one of them and cover that movie. And so Slime City is one of the movies that's like in the poster. There's a moment where I'm like, oh, there's Slime City, in the background. So, shout out to Greg in both In Search of Darkness and in this film.
Yeah, and Slime City Massacre is the 10th anniversary this year.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The sequel to Slime City.
You're doing a show on that, right?
Yeah, next week it'll be a reunion of the cast, so that'd be very fun.
Cool. So yeah, you can tune into Without Your Head and see the
cross promotion
on the Without Your Head network.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's why we're all here.
Yes, very good plug. But yeah, I would recommend that, especially if you're listening to this, you probably are someone who is into like independent film world or also one thing, it's not necessarily negative, but it is weird. All the stuff they're talking about, like right now, is not happening. Like the festivals aren't happening. Right. The distribution is a lot different right now because it's like you can't really get a movie into a theater, and so it's weird, that it's coming out right now at this time.
We're kind of excited because we worked on a film that is playing at Fantasia called Darling Pet Munkee. That's a documentary about a guy who lowers a monkey.
That's really exciting that's playing there.
Yeah.
I love it, and everyone involved is very cool.
Except for Jim, but
we're gonna get Jim McDonough.
Jim McDonough
on this podcast.
may be the guest next week. So
is that confirmed?
Oh,
well,
cool.
I don't. Nothing's confirmed until it happens. But
Right.
you may. But stay tuned.
I know he's a
Jim
big
will be here.
get. So he's
He's tough.
hard.
We've been talking to his people.
He's hard to schedule. Yeah.
But no, I think we might get Jim on to talk about Darling Pet Munkee. But that's a short film that we have that's playing at Fantasia. So we're also excited about what's going on in Fantasia.
And we've never actually gone, and we've been like kind of adjacent to a lot of movies, and so like I'm extra bummed that I haven't been able to go when it's actually happening now. That it's like I'm sort of in it.
Yeah. Well, we have a movie we produced in it.
Produced through Jim, and I can't go, but it also doesn't exist, so nobody can go.
Right.
Yeah. But the virtual fest looks pretty cool. I mean, they're having a lot of meetups and things.
Yeah,
so if you're
ton of content.
Yeah, if you're in, I think it's geo-blocked to just Canada, all of Canada, I believe. So if you're in Canada listening to this, and I think we our broadcast signal reaches Canada maybe with the podcast here. If you're in Canada, then you can
only in Poughkeepsie.
Only in Poughkeepsie. If you're in Canada, you can buy a ticket, I think, and attend the virtual screenings of Fantasia and see. They have like 1 million awesome panels and other special things that I'm sure you're going to do. I imagine a show covering what's going on in Fantasia sometime soon.
Yeah, I was just sent like the list of movies, and like I can say get the screen, and there was just like so many, so I was trying to go through them and pick the ones that were horror, like in the realm of horror, because not everything is a horror movie or even in that realm at Fantasia Fest.
Cool. Is there anything else you checked out that's there that is?
Yeah, and just real quick about that too is Lloyd Kaufman is in it, and it's cool to see Lloyd kind of out of character. Because so many things he does, he's like the Lloyd Kaufman character, and I always find it more interesting if he's kind of talking like a person. So that was cool to see. Fried Berry, which is an awesome movie. It's definitely not going to be for everybody. It's just very bizarre, very strange. There's hardly any dialogue in it. It's really just watching the main character's Gary Green, I believe his name is. Just walking around and being bizarre, and he has like just amazing facials, and like it's good to go into the movie not knowing anything, which I didn't know anything about it, and you just don't know where the movie where it's going to go next, and it's just something I dug. Again, it's going to be a weird movie that's not going to be for everybody, but it was definitely for me, and Trista really loved this movie too. And we're going to have the director on Wednesday.
Very cool. Well, again, everybody tune in for that because this one does. I did see a little bit of there was a teaser trailer that I did get to check out,
right? And
it looks like a really fun one. Looks like it might be a little breakout gem, weirdo for weirdos.
In a way, it's kind of like. It's not. I wouldn't like if you like Greasy Strangler. I wouldn't say it's exactly like that, but like everyone in it is very interesting to look at.
Right.
And it's just very strange, and so I like that. It's a little more. It's like grittier and stuff. It's not, and it doesn't. It's comedic, but not as like overtly comedic as Greasy Strangler. And from what I understand, the lead doesn't do interviews, so he won't be on, but it makes me very interested about him. Like there's more mystery to this man.
I love it. Yeah.
Private. Okay.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
that was out of South Africa. Which I don't know if I've seen
interesting.
in South Africa.
Yeah. That's very cool. Well, I'm excited. I hope we figure out a way to be able to watch movies at Fantasia as filmmakers. I don't know if we're not sure yet. Whether we'll get access, otherwise we'll just be waiting and crying and seeing these movies 6 months from now or something like that. But we're excited about it. We're excited to play Fantasia anyway. So cool. I think that was all the stuff we wanted to cover for watching. And now we wanted to just share, what our kind of news updates are, and then maybe talk about some of the projects we've been working on with you. Because part of the reason why we have people on this show is just to chat with our friends about our collaborations.
About nepotism.
It's nepotism. It's not
Launch Over. Launch Over is our production company / like what we put on everything that we make. So, we have a lot of collaborators. We realize we have like hundreds of people we could talk to. So, there's no endless cup of collaborators. So we thought that was a cool angle for this. Is like it's about us and our friends.
You could just get all the executive producers on shot.
Exactly.
Whatever,
that movie that we
shot on redacted.
on the movie we're not allowed to talk about. But anyway,
we had a few lawyers contact us a couple weeks ago, so we're not going to go too far into that. But it is funny.
We're gonna let that one
we
go.
did receive a cease and desist.
We did. It's not the first time I've gotten a cease and desist, and it probably won't be the last time. But
the most recent.
It is the most recent time I've gotten a cease and desist. So anyway, on that note, what's been going on this week, Sophia?
So we made friends with a Baltimore filmmaker named Bob Rose, and he had a channel called SODAMILK, where it was reviews by this guy named Mike. I forget his last name because I'm a bad person. That he would mix together a soda and a milk. I don't know how long ago. I have no backstory for this. I don't know how long ago they shot these.
I think you've already spent more energy describing it than needs.
So anyway, he would mix them together and then very dryly tell you what it tasted like, kind of. That was the point of the show, SODAMILK. There's a ton of them on YouTube. And so
there's 10 seasons of SODAMILK. Highly recommended. highly recommended.
Watch all 10
yeah,
seasons.
Highly recommended. I think
Game of Thrones. The Wire.
There are dragons and things, and I don't even know. It gets weird.
It gets odd. But we kind of got obsessed with just doing our own, and so we called it MILKSODA, and
it's the fan tribute to
fan tribute. And so it was me and King Ghidorah, and I had a flat Coca-Cola and some soy creamer, and we did a MILKSODA. So if you go on YouTube on the Launch Over channel, you'll find me drinking a MILKSODA.
Yeah. Very, very exciting stuff.
And you were very excited about it.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to match the original host's
droll humor, the dry tone of the...
very difficult. He's very monotone.
He's very good.
Yeah.
He's very talented.
He's hilarious. So anyway, I was definitely trying to match his...
So MILKSODA,
yeah. So, it's 2 minutes of your life.
One of the films...
Did I just dream this up, or did you talk about that at all when I was out there in LA?
I think you dreamed it up.
Yeah, because I didn't know anything about it till like a couple weeks ago. Okay. So, yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I have a memory of this.
Maybe you could see the future.
Yeah.
And
it's very possible.
What if you had the ability to see the future, but the only future things you could see were the most pointless ones, like that we might.
Someday Sophia will drink a Coca-Cola soy creamer.
That would seem very fitting.
Like the most mundane, useless information. That's it's kind of like Cassandra, but instead of not being able to convince people that the things she sees is true.
Kind of how my memory works.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the stuff that sticks with me.
We also a film we produced called Half Cocked, which our friend Aaron Brokos directed. Won a whole bunch of awards at the Hollywood Horror Fest this year. We would be celebrating in person at the Hollywood Horror Fest, where they give out the Vincent Price Award, to really cool people like Sid Haig received it recently, and so it's a really, really cool fest, really fun ceremony and everything. We would be screening our film Half Cocked there, except that the festival has been postponed until next year. But what they decided to do was just announce the award winners now and then screen the films later. And we were extremely honored that Half Cocked won Best Short, Best Director for Aaron, Best Actress in a Comedy for Vanessa Benavente, our lead performer, and Best Actor in a Comedy for London Boyd, one of our other leads.
Yeah, cleaned up.
So we had a really nice, that was a nice surprise for us this week.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Half Cocked.
Congrats to everyone involved.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Half Cocked. I've seen it many times at various festivals.
Cool, thank you. Half Cocked is available now for streaming via the Alamo Drafthouse Winchester and Genre Blast as part of a block that they're doing, a special like online
shorts
block that you can rent and watch. And otherwise, it's playing a few more fests before it's released publicly. We don't know exactly when, but someday it will be out.
Yeah. And also this week, the trailer for a short that I was cinematographer on called Tea Time came out. And so Tea Time is hitting a bunch of festivals coming up, including Genre Blast, including Film Quest and Horrible Imaginings, Women in Comedy, a few more. So it's about a little girl who is kind of evil, having tea. So it's a pretty fun one. And so it's cool. The trailer came out, so you can check out the trailer.
and it features a wrestling cameo that we won't spoil.
Yeah, wrestling cameo. So Neal, you'll be interested.
I am, yes. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason you'll be interested.
I know you hate horror movies, but you like wrestling cameos. So
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is that everything that's been
Probably
going? That's
our
about all
news.
that's been going on with us. I don't know if you have anything specific you want to share. I think we've talked a little bit about the shows, some of the shows you have coming up, but if you want to plug anything specific.
In 2 weeks is the Slime City Massacre reunion. This week are the people from Antimity, which is a really fun YouTube series. They do short horror segments. Each one, they vary in length. There's been 3 seasons. The first one won Cloud won Best Short in our first festival. So I was very excited. We're going to have all the makers from that on. That'll be fun. Todd Farmer is going to be on soon. The man who wrote Jason X.
Nice.
Which I'm very
The best
excited to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially Smash. I was going to freeze my head and smash it live on video, but I'm not sure if it's going to be possible. But
Michael, to his shame, has not seen Jason X.
So
really, that's the franchise,
And it's legitimately the best one.
to tell you the true story of pandemic suffering,
Yeah, here it comes.
I had a ticket. In fact, I think the screening still happened. I had a ticket to see Jason X on 35 millimeter at the New Beverly Theater in the afternoon. And what happened was on March 15th, they were like, it's basically locked down, and I was a little sick, so I was afraid, about what was going on. But so I did not attend that screening of Jason X, and I was very excited because I really
I have hyped it up a lot through the years as the best one.
I also just wanted the opportunity to see it on 35.
Yeah,
I
which
thought that'd
would be
cool.
awesome.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if I agree it's the best one, but
My thing is, I always pick the most ridiculous movie in a franchise and make that one
Right.
my favorite because to me, it's like at some point, every franchise just goes a little bit off the rails in an exciting and weird way.
I think that probably happens a few times.
Yeah. Well, we haven't watched the Leprechaun franchise
Oh
yet,
my God.
but I do own the full set.
They go to
and
space too,
They
right?
go to space. The space one is
Yes, they
okay.
do.
It's okay. I think
I really think the Hood is actually the best
the
one.
Hood
of
is the best one
franchise.
by far. Yeah. I don't think I've seen Back to the Hood because there was a sequel.
It's not. I remember it not as good, but I know this is shocking, but I've only seen it once.
That is shocking. I'm very disappointed. Leprechaun in Space is okay. I would call it okay.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, but it's probably not Jason X based on the.
I mean, Jason X might not even live up to my memory of it, which is like that it was so great.
It is pretty amazing. I honestly think just the idea of it is actually kind of interesting. That they can't kill Jason, so they just freeze him. And then it's in the future. Why he's on a spaceship, I'm not exactly sure. But he gets, thawed out and
Why not?
starts running amok.
Why not?
And like, why are there like teenagers on the spaceship? Like, I don't know. I don't really remember.
They have like a holodeck.
Right. Oh,
They have a holodeck
Yeah.
on
TM.
it's like Star Trek.
Yeah,
basically.
it is. It is. I know the ending. I've read the synopsis. I know the spoilers about what happens. But anyway, so so that's kind of our news, I think, for this week.
Yeah.
We missed anything important?
I don't know.
And otherwise, I think we just want to talk about the projects. Why, we are collaborating with you on this Without Your Head podcast network. That's
Yep,
why we're
exciting.
here. But we've got a couple of other projects that we've been working on with you, and I think we can talk about them.
Well, let's start with Umbilicus Desidero because I think that was like really the first collaboration, right? Am I wrong with that?
Yeah.
I think
No, it definitely
formally,
was.
yeah.
Formally, yeah. So Neal made the mistake of crashing at our place during the Boston Underground Film Festival. Was it only last year?
I think this goes back
2 years ago.
This story goes
It's
back
really,
further.
No, it was last year.
Yeah.
It was last year. It seems
Wow.
like, and honestly seems like 5 years ago
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something. But
This story dates back a little bit further because
All right,
early
we
last
hung
year.
out at Buffalo Dreams and talked about this.
but early
Whatever.
last year, we've known Neal
while.
for a few years. Let's say. I think we met. Neal and I met online through the Ungovernable Films people. I don't know if it was
Right.
Ungovernable Force or something else, but kind of through those guys.
yeah, I think it was Honky Holocaust.
Honky
was,
Holocaust. Okay, yeah. You were interviewing Paul for Honky
Right.
Holocaust. Okay, great. So so we met through that, and we've been friends on Facebook and so on, and chatted, and I think we met maybe one or two times in person by this point. But then you had posted that you were having surgery, and as part of this surgery, the result would be that you would not have a belly button any longer.
Michael got obsessed with this, I would say.
Obsessed? Right? I don't know.
Then I thought
we made a documentary about it.
I know, but then I thought it would be funny to like mail you a Polaroid of our belly buttons for some reason. I was like, but then like after I mailed it, I was like, maybe that's kind of bullying. It's just like the most awkward Polaroid of just bellies, no faces.
It was a get well Polaroid.
Yeah, it was just bellies. So anyway, that's in the history books.
But yeah, when you announced this, I guess what I said to you was like, can we make a documentary about your belly button? And I think you said yes, but what were you thinking at the time this was?
I really didn't know what you meant. I actually thought you meant like an actual like documentary about it, and I was just like, okay, but I wasn't like I didn't know why really, or like what it would be. And I remember I don't know where they are, but you told me to take like before pictures, so I did take a picture of my belly button and like a short video before at that. It was like November 2018 is when I found out that this would be happening. And so I do have that somewhere, I guess. And then so when I showed up, because we were going to do this at Boston Underground Film Festival,
right? Because we live in different places. Weekend. We should clarify that you live in the general vicinity of Boston, in the Massachusetts area,
right? Cape Cod, very close to Boston.
For people who are familiar with the area,
which is no one.
And we live currently on the West Coast. We had lived in Boston previously, but we are currently living in Los Angeles. So the Boston Underground Film Festival was an opportunity where we would be together. We would all be in the same place. And so that is so. Wait, now I'm sorry. Continue your story about meeting up. Yeah.
Well, first of all, we started to film the documentary, and I wasn't sure like exactly like what we were doing, and then you just told me like play it more serious, and then like I knew right away what we were all going for was, and it was great because it's my sense of humor is. I think the more straight you play something to me, the funnier it is. And so then I was right on board, and I don't know how long because it wasn't really like scripted. You'd give me pointers like talk about this, talk about that, and so it seemed like we just talked for about like a half hour.
Sounds about right. I don't know though.
Yeah, it wasn't too long, and then we just used the Boston Underground Film Festival's resources to get some good B-roll of you doing karaoke and at the parties and sitting alone.
Yeah, and I normally don't like anything that I'm part of, but I love this. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, so this is a little, I don't know, is it 4 minutes? It's not quite, something like three and a half.
And 59 seconds.
So whatever it is, almost 4 minutes. Document. It's what we've been kind of selling it, and it's been a little confusing because we've done a festival run with it.
I know some people think it's all made up.
Well, it's played about maybe like 20 fests at this point. I can't really. I lost track at some point. Yeah. But it kind of falls into the documentary category sometimes into the comedy category. But it's basically a short film where we present Neal very earnestly talking about the loss of his belly button. And side characters, including your mother. I was very, and your brother. I was very excited, that we had the opportunity to get your mother and brother involved in this. And I have to say,
they were cruel.
When we, when we asked you, we said, oh, do you mind, or would they be interested? Would you mind filming them? And so you film them. You never really know what you're going to get out of is your mother going to understand the humor here? Like, how's it going to work? And when we got that back, I was like, this is just perfect. This is great. Everybody.
Yeah, a lot of the ones I've been at, my mom's line gets like the biggest laugh.
Yeah, it's a really great performance. It's a great moment in the film. So kudos to your mother and brother for doing that.
Right.
And
well, I mean, the reason why I like weird movies and stuff is I was watching them since I can remember with my mom. So she was right on board with what we were doing.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. But yeah, so that doc, maybe ironically, maybe I don't know if this is really irony, but it the kind of the final fest that we were intending was the Boston Underground Film Festival, and we had gotten into it and we were supposed to play there, but then the festival has been postponed. So now we're kind of waiting to see what happens with that, and then I think it'll, the movie will be available.
We'll figure out how we're going to release
it.
And
it's really unfortunate, for many reasons. But that was the one we filmed at. It's my first festival I've ever been to. It's in my home state. There'd be a lot of people there I knew and stuff. So it would have been special to watch it there with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had our flights booked and everything for that, and that was like the first big thing we had to cancel because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I remember.
Because that was back in March.
Besides the Jason X screening.
Right. Well, that was the very first thing.
Jason X was
the Boston
Jason X
Underground
first.
Film Festival. Yeah. So.
And Jim McDonough, who directed Darling Pet Munkee with us, plays a bully. He plays himself as a bully.
Right. Which
it's funny because we all joke about being the bully, but he's probably like the opposite of anyone that would ever bully anyone.
He is the nicest guy, and I think it's actually really great that he's the bully in the movie. And it actually, I think he gets upset when I tell, because I will tell people in front of him, I'm like, Jim was bullying Neal in the movie, and it's
a documentary, so you know it's true. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, we involve we force our friends to do terrible things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny to me that it is so often in the documentary portion, and that it's been nominated and won both funniest short in some and best documentary in some.
Yeah.
So I don't know if some of those people do think it's real, or
I mean, it's real to a degree, right?
I don't know if people think all of it's completely real, because it's neither,
right?
Both. So.
It is real to a degree. You no longer have a belly button, and and I think there's something. I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit. That there's like a metaphor to it. That it's like, you lost your belly button. Obviously, having your life be thrown into turmoil by the loss of your belly button is probably not a real experience, but. As a metaphor for other things and for other experiences, and I know you've talked about
and
that.
Honestly, people have brought that up, that they found it very touching, and I didn't expect that reaction.
Right,
but, that's been really cool for me to get both people laughing and seeing more into it than what I thought.
Right. I've always been a big fan of doing things that bend genres or kind of make you rethink.
That's what I like about the festivals to begin with is. So many of the things at an underground festival don't fit into a specific genre, and that always appeals to me.
Right, absolutely. Right. Yeah, that's what we always, even though we make horror movies often, we find that we play better at underground fests and things like that because it's more...
our stuff is a little weirder or not as straightforward as a lot of the straight horror festivals really just want jump scares and to be very typical horror, and our brains are just not wired totally that way. We're going to make it weird wherever we can. Even if we try to go straight and narrow something, it gets weird before it is finished. So the Underground Fest tend to have embraced us a little bit more generally.
Yeah, and it's nice because we can play, our horror films. We can play these weird docs like Umbilicus Desidero and Darling Pet Munkee, which is also another
strange documentary.
People actually have commented on that one because that's actually more of a real doc. There's really nothing made up about it. It's just Jim created kind of an animated version or retelling of this story of this guy Tim Tate, who really did mail order a monkey in the late 60s and then got the monkey and terrible things happened, or terrible things happened.
If you're the monkey, then terrible things happen.
If you're anybody involved, I think it was pretty tough. But it's a funny story. It's a touching story. And people think it's made up. They really do think it sounds outrageous. It's such a weird, but that's what makes it. But that's why I make a documentary about a mundane, I went to the store and bought some bread, right? I mean, it's so
that's what I'm making.
Currently. But so I think we love doing these kind of weird, strange docs that are a little bit outside of what people view as reality or what people expect as reality. I think that's really fun.
Yeah. And there's no reason I don't think that a documentary can't be entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of
told in a different way,
Speaking of Darling Pet Munkee, I think we're working a little bit. We haven't really talked about this too much publicly, but we're starting work because of the success of Darling Pet Munkee. We're starting work on a feature doc that's gonna involve more stories of items sold in the back of comic books. And
I love this idea.
And I think you're gonna help us out with this.
Yeah, Neal's producing,
definitely,
right?
Yeah, you're gonna help us produce this. And
So this kind of started back when we used to have a band called Darling Pet Munkee where we wrote songs about items sold in the back of comic books, and that was like the hook of that band. And so at that point we had been like, let's do a doc about these things, and that's why Michael flew to DC to interview Tim Tate. So like that was like the first interview to do a documentary, and this is like now going back
2015, maybe that was.
Maybe before.
I think it was 2015.
So a while ago. And then we just kind of decided like it's going to be too expensive to fly around the country interviewing these people without any outside funding. So this is kind of like a back-burnered idea, even though we really thought it was a fun idea, and I think it'll be interesting. So now with the pandemic, everything is like Zoom interviews and stuff. And then also having Jim inspired us with how he made that segment, we're like...
Right, it doesn't have to just be like talking heads.
Exactly.
It could be whatever you want to do.
So, and I think that's like a really fun way to process that information, because like it's such a ridiculous thing. Like these items, like, like Monster Size Monster was just like a garbage bag with like Frankenstein printed on it. It's like the stuff is ridiculous, So like it should be kind of treated like ridiculously. And so I think it lends itself. And so kind of because of the pandemic, we came around to the idea, and because of Darling Pet Munkee, that we can do this now. Like it's something we can work on now.
And there's so many fascinating items. People are familiar with a lot of the more standard ones, like X-ray specs are pretty well. Sea monkeys are pretty well known. But like we dug a little deeper into some of these. We wrote songs. So if you check out our band, Darling Pet Munkee, and we'll put links to everything that we talk about in the description. But Darling Pet Munkee, which is spelled Munkee, because we like to make it hard. We wrote songs about all these items, and one of the songs is about an item called Genuine Soil from Dracula's Castle. And this is maybe my favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's in the 70s, Warren magazine, which was called Horror. Warren was the publisher. I think it was called Horror Magazine or something. Basically, I don't know, somebody from the magazine went to visit Vlad's castle, one of these
in Romania, supposedly,
and brought home.
Supposedly, it's not from New Jersey.
No, I think there was a story somewhere that made it seem real. Okay. But anyway, they brought home basically like a bucket of dirt through customs, and then took the dirt, because if you're familiar with the story of Dracula, he has to bring dirt back from with him from Transylvania, because he's in his coffin. It has to be like surrounded by Transylvanian dirt or something. That's part of the plot.
Right.
So you could buy a tiny little plastic coffin amulet filled with dirt from Transylvania that's on like a cheap gold necklace.
With a certificate of authenticity.
Authenticity, limited edition, I think 5,000 maybe.
Something like that. It's numbered.
So this is a really cool item. I ended up buying one on eBay. I think I got it for like $20 at the time. So this is in the 70s they made these. And I would say every 3 months, a random guy who lives in, I think, Italy, messages me asking me how much I will sell my Dracula amulet for. And I just tell him it's not for sale every time.
The thing with this guy is I've become convinced that he is actually Dracula, and he's trying to collect all of his dirt. So I think we should interview him.
We should interview him.
I think we need to interview this guy about this. Because like, why else would he be this earnestly trying to get this dirt back? You know? We have so many ridiculous messages from him. We should do like a live play of the messages.
Yeah. Do you remember any other? Is there any other weird comic book items that you remember as a kid, or?
Basically the ones because I didn't remember the Dracula one.
Yeah, that was a kind of obscure one.
sea monkeys and the X-ray goggles.
Yeah. There were some cool ones. It's like the Polaris nuclear sub, and like they're just
the Hypnocoin.
Hypnocoin was a favorite of ours. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, we're gonna try to get this doc rolling. So and
it's something, and that whole all those ideas are just something that I think that went away, because I don't know, I don't think there's any novelty thing like that anymore, because I don't know where you'd even sell it.
Right.
Yeah. I guess you could put a Facebook ad, but it would be.
Do they even do McDonald's toys anymore? Because you used to get toys from so many places, like cereal boxes,
but they're not as memorable.
No, yeah. Well, part of the thing with the comic books was that it was always a disappointment. That was the part that I liked. That was what intrigued me about doing the doc in the first place, is that every story about buying one of these things, because they're all sold as if they're like have some really
awesome
insane
thing, yeah.
magic ability, and then they turn out to be like some piece of crap. And that, like, I don't know why, but having your dreams dashed is something that I thought was worthy of a documentary. So
I'm with you.
Yeah. So so anyway, we're gonna explore that further. But so that's
I remember having Sea Monkey so many times, and they'd always be a letdown. But then I'd always get them again, thinking this time they'll be amazing.
They'll play basketball and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I tried to have some a few years ago. When we got interested in this, I bought some, and they all died. And then I just waited like a couple months while they dried out, and then I resuscitated them.
Yeah.
Then they all died again, and I gave up.
They go into hibernation. They really do. They go into like
weird,
crystallized
little
hibernation.
creatures. They're not as cool as the ad, though.
So anyway, so that's a project that's coming up. We've
Aren't they
also
like mosquito larvae or something.
They're
sea
brine
monkeys?
shrimp.
No, brine. Yeah, brine
Yeah,
shrimp.
they're really
Brine
tiny
shrimp,
shrimps.
okay,
Yeah.
I think they're slightly different than brine shrimp, but they're very similar to brine shrimp.
They're bred. They're purebred shrimp.
They're purebred brine shrimp, made by a guy who had some like white supremacy background. But
So that'll be like a really, the music will change there when we talk about that guy. I think it'll get really depressing for a minute.
Yeah. We're also working with Neal on a bigger and exciting project that is kind of a little bit on hold right now, called The Once and Future Smash. And that is, I guess, we're back in this documentary kind of thing. But it's a mockumentary, I guess, with a little bit of realism, a little bit of non-realism about two guys who were the stars of the film End Zone 2 in 1970 and played the slasher character Smash Mouth. And you're wearing a Smash Mouth t-shirt right now as we speak. Not that anybody can see, but so End Zone 2. And as part of that, we're doing a restoration. We've gotten the 16 millimeter prints of End Zone 2. And so we're doing a restoration of that and a kind of documentary about the two guys. And the two guys are played in our film by Michael St. Michaels and Bill Wheaton.
Yeah. And I talked about this last week, and you mentioned also like how weird it is that conventions like don't exist presently, because we shot this in February.
Yeah, that was like one of the last ones to happen.
Yeah.
It was the last one I was at, so yeah.
At Mad Monster Party in February. So, it's very weird how the world has changed so much just since we shot that.
Yeah, I remember the whole idea came about, Michael and I were having a conversation on Facebook, and it was about Bill Johnson and Bob Elmore, who, this is no secret. They argue about playing Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. And Michael's just like, this would make a good movie. And I was like, yeah. And then Michael ran with that idea. And then part of it was like, if we could film this at an actual convention, that's really what we would need, because it would be impossible to just make your own convention and have it believable at all. And big thanks to Eben McGar, who runs Mad Monster. He loved the idea. And then it really all came together. It was Mad Monster. And then Michael had the idea, like the two leads, it would be perfect to have Michael St. Michael and Bill Wheaton together visually and like personality-wise. And they both were on board. And so it's like, well, okay, I guess this is going to happen.
Yeah, we had no choice at that point. Once they both agreed, we really had no choice but to go with it. And they're both hilarious guys.
God.
Bill,
I cannot wait for people to see this movie.
Bill just
so
turned 80 yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Bill.
Happy 80th. And Michael's running behind him to get there. So,
in a lot of ways, that movie came together. Like Michael had these great ideas, and I joke about this, but for years, being nice to people in the horror community and the convention world, I think it paid off on my end. And like people were like came through so now I don't have to pretend to be a nice guy anymore.
Yeah,
that's right.
You did all that legwork just for this moment.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean the movie definitely wouldn't have happened. This is part of the fun of producing. Working with different people who have different kinds of resources or different kinds of ideas, and so this is a perfect example of a movie that we kind of all pulled together the things that we had access to, and we're working with, and
all kidding aside, like it is, it's not a reason to be nice to someone because you might get something, but like
20 years later you might get something out of that.
Right. But just being a good person or whatever, like it pays off, I think, just in general.
Sure.
Bah humbug.
Maybe.
But yeah, so we had a lot of fun. I mean, I think we had a lot of fun.
That was a whirlwind. What were we there 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, it was
4 days or so. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just coming off being very sick, and so it was a little crazy. But looking back, I had a great time. At the time,
my memories are great.
I had a great time, but I also a couple times was like, oh man, this is.
It was rough. I mean, this is always back to your mention of like where I say making movies is a terrible idea. It's like there's always going to be, especially when your resources are limited, and so we're at a convention, we have to cover, about.
We had 60 pages of script,
stuff,
right? We had to cover,
in like 4 days or so,
right.
something.
Which is already a lot. We definitely could have used a few more crew members. And it was just hard shooting in the public. Like, it was awesome to have all these people going by and stuff.
Yeah,
but
that was even though I wasn't like manning the camera or anything, but that was annoying to me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's just, people want to know what you're doing, or they're just like stepping right in front of the camera and like stopping, and it's like, okay.
Right. And then part of it's like you feel bad because you don't want to block other tables or people walking around. And
we really,
we were blocking poor James Balsamo for
our welcome on James's table for sure.
Yeah, he was a very
good sport.
He was a good sport, and he was kind to us, and he appears in the movie several times.
Yeah,
and,
he's very funny in the movie.
So very good performance on it.
He did a great job. Yeah, he did a great job. So thank you.
And honestly, thanks both of you for including me in several of these crazy projects.
Yeah, it's been great working with you, and I think there's we're still moving on a bunch of them.
So part of that was because conventions have been canceled. We were talking about going to other conventions to get more talking head interviews and other footage. So that's all on hold until we decide how we're going to do that.
Well, until it's safe, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get there. We're 60% done with that movie or something.
And speaking of Half Cocked, the director Aaron Brockus is working on the initial edit of our convention footage.
Yeah.
So I think he was even working on it yesterday.
He was. I think he was like, I better celebrate Bill's birthday by cutting some of Once and Future Smash. He offered to send me stuff. He's like, my inclination is to wait until I'm done before I send it to you, but I can send it to you, as I go. And I'm like, nah, just cut it all. Let me see it when it's, I
feel better, like with as much distance from it as possible. And then I can watch it with like fresher eyes,
And it's missing a lot of stuff. So it's not like it's, there's a lot of work to do, but it's just
chunks that we shot
to kind of get it together, get what he can together and make it work. So
watching Bill and Michael together and separately was really a lot of fun. And like Sophia said, I can't wait for people to see that their interaction.
Yeah, they're both like two of my favorite people. They're just hilarious people. I hope we can. We talked before about doing some kind of show all together. I don't know if it was Without Your Head or something like that, but I'd love to get us all back together sometime when we can figure out.
I gotta help Michael or all of us help Michael with Zoom.
I know he's technologically has some challenges, but he's a
I think we'll get
Zoom
it. We'll get it working.
Zoom is confusing.
It is. I just started using it, the last couple months, and
yeah. But anyway, those are kind of the big projects we've been working on.
I think like that movie, once we get it done in 2022 or so, is actually going to do really well. I think people will be really into it. Yeah. I've got all of my eggs in that basket.
I agree. I think it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Because people who convention world, people like the horror movie. I don't know. There's a lot of things there that it could that it will appeal to different people.
Yeah, it's a good crossover.
King Ghidorah is standing up right now. He heard that. He's getting excited.
He believes in the project.
He does. Yeah. He's like I'm there. He's like I'm there for the screening. I hope we get to bring him to the premiere. I think he would enjoy it.
Hopefully he gets a cameo or something.
He will definitely appear in the movie.
That could be a thing.
There's 100% chance that he will appear in the so then I think we want to just say thank you so much for being on the show, being our first guest on the Launch Over podcast.
Well, you're both welcome, and thank you for having me here. It's been very fun. I always love talking to you.
Where can we find all your stuff?
Just search Without Your Head. So withoutyourhead.com will take you links to everything. And you could, wherever you are, if you're on Twitter, YouTube has a lot of stuff. So trying to push that because a lot of the videos are there. And then all the podcasts, because I did notice when we started doing video, people still like, just a straight up podcast for various reasons. They listen to it at work, if they're traveling. So all the audio stuff, withoutyourhead.com. Really, however you like to listen to stuff, just look up Without Your Head, and you should find it.
And the podcast is all on Spotify and iTunes and all those places too.
All the major Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. I think even things I don't even know exist.
Pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find Without Your Head. And I know you do. You do a pretty large number of interviews and things. And I think, I say this, obviously now we're friends and whatnot, but even before I really knew you very much, I very much enjoyed your interviews, because you do a lot of really cool long form interviews with people who don't get as much attention or get explored in as much detail as you kind of do on those podcasts. And that's always been something I've really enjoyed. So, you have
thank you. And I appreciate that. And that's what interests me in doing the show. And not always just asking, stuff that people have talked about a bazillion times, trying to find out more about the person, and a lot of indie stuff. And
you've pretty much interviewed, I would say, anybody that you can think of in horror has pretty much been on Without Your Head at some point.
Right. And if not, they should be.
If not, it's their fault. I blame them.
Exactly. Yeah. And a shout out to Terrible Troy, who started the show with me, and Treacherous Trista, who just joined. And it's been a lot of fun. It's a good addition.
So the skitters in the background mean it's time for us to say goodbye, because King Ghidorah is he's ready to go make a poop outside.
All right, very good.
Have a good one, everyone. See you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.